So I wanted to take a couple minutes. I've been wanting to make this video for a few days, and just talk about if you haven't heard of the Ruth Stout Method. It's kind of chilly this morning, but it's kind of warm. The sun's warm. So I decided to do the Ruth Stout Method. This garden that you see behind me here is been here for 20 years, and I did like everybody else, and I tilled. You till, you compost, you till, you compost. So last year though, I had really noticed that the soil just wasn't what I thought it should be after composting and fertilizing. And when I say fertilizing, I don't use any synthetic anything, fertilizers, sprays, whatever. I use all natural stuff. So disclaimer there. So we were baling hay. The guy that makes the hay on our farm, we have a pretty good arrangement. I don't charge him anything to make the hay. He doesn't charge me anything to make the hay. We basically split it up. I get what I need, and he gets the rest, which is usually better than half of the hay, just because right now I don't need a lot. And so it works out pretty good. Nice guy. It works out well. So anyway, till no till thing. So I had seen some videos on the Ruth Stout Method, and I thought, yeah, that's kind of a good idea, because I tried wood chips, I tried leaf compost, and it's not that they didn't work, they just didn't work well enough for me. So if you're using wood chips, great. I know the back to Eden thing is a big thing, and if that works for you, then more power to you. It's just not for me. So I decided to try the Ruth Stout Method. So what I did was, right about the end of fall, I come through and I put my first layer of hay down. I put 6 inches down. We ended up getting some snow and some rain, and it packed down, so I come through and I put another 6 inches down. And as you know, it packs down, packs down, packs down. By that time, I had got the cows over here, and I had quite a bit of manure. Now, for those of you who don't know, basically a cow will produce 50 pounds manure a day. Now, I have them out on pasture. All these fields behind me, as you can see, they've grazed all of them at least twice. Shout out to Greg Judy from, I think it's Regenerative Farmer. If you guys haven't checked him out and you have cows, you need to check him out. So he kind of got me into the rotational grazing thing. Now, getting back to the Ruth Stout Method. So I had the manure, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to put some manure on these gardens. They need it, and we're just going to see what happens. So what I did was, I come down these rows. Now this is my second layer of manure, and I'm not going to put any more on them. So I have 2 layers, 2 6-inch layers of hay, and then I have 2 layers of manure. Now this manure is probably 50-50 manure to hay. This row, see, I got this row pretty good, and I'll continue over this way. This is where I had my tomatoes last year. This is where I had my butternut, spaghetti squash, cantaloupe, cucumbers. Over here I had 3 or 4 rows of strawberries, which anxious to kind of see if they come back this year. I may move them over to that side of the garden, but we'll have to see what happens. I just mulched over top of them. I thought, you know what, they're either going to make it or they're not. So that is kind of like my version of the Ruth Stout method. My theory, I'm going to do some follow-up videos on this, so I'll let you know how it's working out for me. I'm going to take you over here. I'll find a spot. Let me see here. Let's go over here. I'm going to find a spot and just kind of show you. Let's go right here. I'm just going to kind of show you here how it's working out. So, for those of you who don't know, the Ruth Stout method, basically you cover everything with hay, and then you just pull the hay back. Oh, there you can see there's some mycelium working there. You see that? That's good. You just pull the hay back like this. There, you can see this is some old wood chips I had down here, and you can see that the mycelium's breaking that down. You just pull your row back, you plant your seeds in there, and then this compost and holds moisture in during the summer. So we'll see how things work out. Cover that back up there, and I'll do some follow-up videos for you. Don't do anything fancy. Compost, that's one thing about being a homesteader. You have to learn to work within your means. A lot of people, that's another word of advice. Start out small. If you're just getting into this, come up with an idea. Maybe it's a garden idea. Come up with an idea. Start small. Once you figure out a system that works for you, because there's a lot of different ways to do stuff out there, and like the wood chips, the back to Eden gardening, it just didn't work for me for multiple reasons. But that doesn't mean it's not going to work for somebody else. So you got to figure out what's going to work for you, and that's okay. Don't listen to all the naysayers. There's a lot of trolls out there on the internet. So okay, so over here I had 3 rows of potatoes. Had Pontiac Reds, Yukon Golds, Kennybecks. By far, Kennybecks are the best producer for me. The Reds do pretty good, except for I get a lot of small potatoes. The Yukon Golds would probably be number 2. So Kennybeck, Yukon Gold, 1 and 2. So what I did was, I had these, you can kind of see here, this is a raised bed. I had these raised up, and what happened, we got one good cold snap, and I like to leave my potatoes in the ground for as long as I can. I think they store better, and it saves space in the house. I do not have a root cellar, so I just think they keep better outside. Anyway, so they were raised up about a foot and a half maybe, and I thought, you know what, I better just mulch these in. So I took a bunch of hay, took them down the rows, mulched it in about 6 inches or so, and what I didn't know was it created the perfect environment for rodents. Mice, voles, moles, whatever you want to call them. So I had 6 inches hay. The beds were raised up so the top of the beds were dry, and I had a food source there. So what did they do? The mice went right down the top of my beds, ate almost all my potatoes. I'd say 90% of them. When I dug them up, I got, out of 3 50-foot rows, I got 1 5-gallon bucket of potatoes. That's how bad they ate them. So maybe you don't have rodents in your area that's a problem like this, but you know, I live kind of in a rural area, so it's a problem. So I won't make that mistake again. Maybe that'll help you out at some point. Now, show you a picture of this. So this is a garden that I have tilled and tilled and tilled and tilled, and you can see that it grew back up with foxtail. It got away from me really bad last year. I just simply ran out of time. Couldn't keep up with it. I had a couple rows of onions in here. I mulched, I put wood chips and compost on them. They really didn't amount to nothing. I just ran out of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll this all down. I have some round bales over there. I'm going to bring them in here. I'm going to roll this down with hay. Let it sit and see what happens. I think I'm going to move my raspberry plants where I had my potatoes last year back in there. I was trying to get some year-old goat manure on them, which I did get one row done. But the raspberries, that's another video that I'll do here. I got a bunch of videos coming up. I still haven't done a premiere video. I got a lot of things planned this year. Gonna do some forestry videos. Gonna do some sawmilling videos if I can get my brother's sawmill up here. He has a really nice Baker sawmill, band mill. I'm gonna do some videos on rotational grazing, how I do it and why I do it that way, because what works for me. What else? We may be raising pigs again this year. We didn't raise them last year just because we couldn't find any that were for sale. I like to buy mine small and raise them up to about 350 to 400 pounds. So we got a lot of stuff planned. I got to dig up my horseradish, which that'll be another video. I have not made it yet. My brother makes it all the time, but I haven't tried it yet, but I'm kind of excited to do so. So lots of trees. That's another one I'm going to do. Going to do another video on fruit trees. I have planted fruit trees for a long time. Had some success, had some failures. For some reason, I cannot grow a cherry tree ever. For some reason, they die on me all the time. So thank